as someone who values free speech, I didn't like that very much. I'm an instructor, and yeah, since then I've done about nearly 5,000 skydives, taken about 3,000 people as tandem passenger, everywhere between Torquay, St Kilda and a few other places around Australia. That was my main sort of profession over the last sort of 10 years. Recently got back into truck driving. I've nearly got 3 million kilometres truck driving, so got a couple of different professional backgrounds. And then you got the Air Force, was my first major profession, straight out of school doing Airfield Defence Guard, which is just like soldier in the Air Force.
So AGI?
Yeah.
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 I did my basic training in the Air Force.
Oh wow! We got a lot of synergy.
Aircraft structural fitter.
Yeah.
It just didn't quite fit me. So you do have a lot, yeah. So you're into track days as well.
Yes, yeah. So I used to race in my 20s. Rode an R1. Had one crash at Mallard that broke my right collarbone. But other than that, I've had like about 20 crashes and ridden on tracks all around Australia. And recently getting back into it on a CBR 600, and it's funny, like I had a gap of maybe 13 years of not riding on the track, and I'm already back to as fast as I was before.
That's amazing, yeah.
Just like riding a bike.
Yeah, because it's a passion. It's coming from a place of passion, or desire. I think, those little things. It sounds like you actually do this, but designing life how you want it, trying to make your heart sing. Yeah. By doing consciously making the decision, hey, I'm going to go book in a track day for April 23rd or whatever it is.
Bingo.
It's super important.
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about how you got into being as a counsellor.
So I've been politically active for over 10 years now.
Yep.
I've actually had an interesting political journey, having worked in the military in a typical Labor averse area, so people in the military generally vote Liberal. Then I went into trucking, where that's typically Laborish, but I don't think that's the case anymore. And then I become a little bit environmentally aware, so my first preference votes over the years have gone to Liberal, Labor, Greens, and then I had a bit of an awakening and took on board what some of the independents were talking about. And then I found Julian Assange and supported his run in 2013 to become an Australian Senator. I then found that it's an issue with any single issue party, is that what are they going to do on XYZ? And that's where I stumbled on the Liberal Democrats, who have now changed to the Libertarian Party, because the Liberal Party made the name Liberal Democrats illegal in 2022. And that has been my home because it's fundamentally based on the voluntary interaction between consenting adults. So you don't need the government to tell you what to do, to take your money. If you can respect a person's individual rights, we essentially don't need government. But while we live in the society that we do need governments and government departments and all that sort of jazz. So what I do is I work towards a future that taxes people a whole lot less, so that they've got more time to use the money that they've earned without the government taking it, so they can have a better life.
It's interesting because the other morning I was driving to work, and it was Monday morning in the traffic and whatnot, and I was thinking, wow, everyone's off to their Monday work week.
Yes.
And it's kind of the system that we all, I don't know if we buy into it, but we're all in it.
Yeah. Well, we don't have much of a choice.
No, we don't have much of a choice. I guess materials and nice cars and phones and plasma screen TVs do make it a necessity, but it is such a structured norm, a social construct as such, isn't it?
Yeah. But it all comes down to economics. So economics is a study of human behaviour. And when you understand human behaviour and incentives, you can either use that knowledge to assist people And to me, assisting people is taking away the hurdles.
Yep.
So let's say, look at this house. To build this house, the engineers have had to go to university. They couldn't get a job because they need to be insured, and in order to be insured, they need a qualification. And you've got all these steps that objectively the end result is good, but it could have been built a whole lot cheaper if people were free to operate voluntarily. And that extends across the whole of society and the economy.
Well, it'll be getting worse and worse and worse.
Yeah.
I mean, there's nothing in society that isn't controlled. Whether it be walking without your dog without a lead, or whether it be crossing the traffic lights without a lollipop lady these days.
Or even my history in skydiving. So the rule books of skydiving back in the 70s were about that thick.
Yeah.
Now they're about that thick.
Yeah.
And it's just, as we evolve as a society, we are always going to have negative outcomes. It's just human nature. But we can either look at those and look at why that occurred and attempt to prevent negative outcomes in the future without the need to have overly controlling rules driving that change. Whereas if people understood history, I think most would avoid repeating the mistakes.
Yeah, sure.
Where when we just put these draconian rules in place, often without a good description of why we have the rule, people are more than likely going to repeat it because they don't understand why.
Did we have a choice? So, I mean, the rules are put in place, and then we're notified when we probably do it wrong.
Yeah.
This is legislation now.
Yeah.
I mean,
therefore, it's got consent of the people.
No.
Oh.
It's and there's heaps of them. The list goes on.
Yeah.
So, you've had a few dramas in that role recently. Well, it wasn't recently. How long?
So I think what you're referring to is the suspension in 2025.
As a counsellor?
Yep. So in late 2025, I was suspended for 1 month. That came as a result of being critical of a council-issued press release of an event that council sponsored. I took issue with that, was very public in my criticality of what I perceived to be the issue, and application on our code of conduct was made by the mayor at the time to basically penalise me for speaking up, and that process resulted in me getting suspended.
So let's say you called bullshit on something, and you got in trouble.
Yes, and a legal team together, and we're taking that issue to the Supreme Court, and we'll find out the results of that. But it's very, very difficult. So, like legal fees when you're starting to go to the Supreme Court are significant.
Yep.
So I've launched a GoFundMe for that, and I really don't like asking for help. But in order to defend free speech, I think we need to put the best case forward.
Yeah.
And that's why I ask anyone who can chip in $2, $20, 20 grand, if they value free speech. This case is potentially going to have a significant impact on the Victorian local government landscape.
Well, I think you shouldn't do it alone either. I think you're representing a large portion of people that actually agree with your stance on, whether it be free speech or whether it be political, position.
Yeah.
And I would say, hey, you're in there batting for us.
Yes, yeah, because
that's a good thing. Thank you.
I do forget that sometimes because it's an environment that is not welcoming for someone that is an independent thinker. So the drudgery of it does consume me quite a bit, quite often. So it is nice to hear that, because I do know that there's a large amount of the community that do support what I do.
Yeah.
It's just hard when
you're not supported internally.
I've been in hundreds of hours of council meetings.
Yes, yeah.
And because of the tax environment regulation, most people don't have enough time to do what they want generally, let alone go to a council meeting, even though it's their closest form of government, it's probably only like a 15-20 minute drive for most.
Sure.
So often I'm in there without a lot of support, but fortunately there's always been support both within council. Will either be one or two people, sometimes more, and sometimes people in the gallery. But yeah, it's nice to hear that there's some in the community that do support what I do.
Well, there's not just one black sheep.
No. Yeah.
So, and I think it's important that, you know, that we do have representation, and also I think it's important that people speak up.
Yeah.
And like I guess that's what this podcast is about, is, you know, having a chat to some cool people.
Yeah.
With opinions. Or whatever those opinions are.
I've definitely got opinions on a lot of topics.
It's interesting because, you know, I would probably fall into that category as well.
Yeah.
And sometimes head off on a rant, but, you know, we will definitely have some interesting conversations, that's for sure.
Yeah.
So, you know, at the time that the event happened, and walk me through sort of what it was, and,
Yep.
you know, I mean, facts are facts, aren't they?
Yeah, well, you'd think so.
You would hope so.
I might get suspended as a result of this podcast, who knows? But Australia Day 2025, Council sponsored the Pilkprint event that they had done for a few years prior, being budgeted for a council contribution of ratepayer funds to the event of $3,000 per event, to which it's always gone over that value. And I don't have a particular issue with the event itself, but anytime there's public funds being spent on anything, I generally take quite a critical view.
Yep.
Because my personal view is that if we are going to forcibly take money off people through rates, the most responsible way to spend them is to ensure that it benefits the most amount of people in whatever way that is. So whether it's
like an internal order, really. You're there to order for the people.
Yeah.
Again, represent us.
Yes.
Yeah.
So whether it's roads or parks or waste management or a whole bunch of other things, they're things I can and have supported in council. But often what governments of every level do is that they're very good at creating victim groups and then being the knight in shining armour to save that victim group through the money they've extracted through coercion off the rest of the community. So yeah, this is just one of those, like, I want to see better health, education outcomes for all Australians, Aboriginal, absolutely. Everyone else. But I don't think we get that when we try to elevate one group over another. And that's why I think
any group.
And that's why I think the voice referendum failed, because I think most people just want to be treated equally. Like, how you come into this world, whether you're born in China, Australia, Antarctica if they have births there, I don't know if they do, but your location and your genetic makeup should not impact how you're treated. Like, that to me is the most egalitarian position that we as a society can take. And if we do, like, even if...
Well, it's actually profound that we even think that way.
Yeah.
Like, we label, we group, it's amazing that we still think that way. We're so advanced, yet we're not.
Yeah, like, humans have a very good way of balancing out things. So it's slightly different, but in the skydiving context, as the years have progressed, we've had significant injuries, fatalities, of which I've known quite a few to be victims of that. But often the response from the regulating body is to create more rules to try and prevent that. And while that could be seen as an admirable trait, what that means is it just creates this extra regulatory burden that takes away from what I think is a more productive way of operating, and that's understanding history and making sure that we don't repeat the same mistakes by understanding the history rather than just forcing people to follow these new rules.
Yeah, and I think that's so important. And I think as, the public, where the money is spent, we don't seem to have a choice. Whether it be, I know, like, driving around so let's say Torquay, for instance, at the moment, you're seeing these roundabouts with bike lanes and green paint everywhere.
And 78 signs at once.
Signs and zebra crossings everywhere. And I have a daughter, or two daughters, and, I'm wondering if we're teaching them resilience. But not only that, it's money being spent, and there seems to be no asking. It's just spent.
Yeah.
So that department that you were talking about before, so those regulations with skydiving or whatever, needs people to do that.
Yes.
So therefore we create a new department, we need people within that, taxpayers are paying those staff members, creating a bigger government. I think I read a statistic the other day that I think the income into the Australian government is now 54% either from welfare, clients of the government, or government spend.
Yeah.
Which is amazing.
Yeah, and we are world leaders in the per capita rate of bureaucrats per private citizen.
What is that? Do you know?
So we're now up to about 1 in 10 people work for the government or derive the majority of their income from government expenditure, which is taxpayer expenditure.
Yeah. That's fascinating.
Yeah. So we're going down a slippery slope where if we continue down this path, what's going to happen is that political candidates and parties are going to be offering policies that better support people that are paid for by those who are working in the private economy, which I think is the productive end of the economy, because we are generating wealth from nothing. So me as a truck driver or a property maintenance business owner or a skydive instructor, I'm generating wealth from delivering value to someone who's voluntarily giving me that money, where governments can only take it by coercion. There's some talk within the political circles that I operate in that tax is theft. I don't think tax is theft. I think inflation is theft. And
past a certain limit, their tax would be theft. I mean, there would be the core things, necessities, health, education.
Well, I would challenge you there, because health and education, even the roads. So the roads are not built by government. The roads are built by private companies that understand bitumen and compaction and rolling. Governments are just the middleman. Mm-hmm. So whether it's health or education or roads or anything, I've got a personal belief that if it's important, the community would be able to better sort it out than what governments do, because governments always take a cut. So in order for, let's say, $1 million road project,
you could get it down to 600,000 potentially.
Probably, because especially the contractors that are involved, if they knew that the money was coming directly from the people, I'm pretty sure that they'd probably give a better deal. Whereas when they know it's a government contracts often come with stipulations of traffic management and equity and diversity and all these other social equity policies that they need to comply with.
Bit of cream on top.
Yeah. Whereas if it was just the people, like, let's say it's the people in your street needed the road done, that would be X value, and you might find out that someone in the street works for a company that does that. So can you do a deal and you then independently work it out? Okay, so everyone on Wednesday, the road's going to get done. Can everyone park their cars around the corner or whatnot?
Yeah.
And independently, we as a society can manage the generally government controlled issues and get a better outcome.
Just minimise cost.
Yeah.
And that big machine is a big machine.
Massive.
And, as we, the departments that we were just talking about, they're big as well.
Yeah.
54%, that's getting up there. I was walking down Eastern Beach the other day, and there was an older gentleman walking his dog, and it was a beautiful dog, border collie, was so well behaved. And I walked past him and then I walked back, and as I was walking back, he had the animal management officer who had a lovely jacket on, a good paycheck, probably a company car.
Yeah.
Finding this, he would have been in his 80s for not having the dog on a lead.
And that just looks at the rules rather than what's actually happening. So I'm sure you, me, most of your viewers would have had an incident where they've been pulled over the police for just exceeding the speed limit by a marginal amount.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure most of us could put our hand on our heart and go, I was not dangerous. It was just like I was slowing down for a new speed zone or whatever. Yeah. But because of that interaction, that's left them with a sour taste in the mouth, because I think most people are libertarian in at least one element of life. And for me, I think it's that interaction with police after being pulled over for speeding, where we know we haven't caused any harm.
Yeah.
Has it elevated our risk of being involved in a crash? Probably. But I'm more focused on what's the outcome. So if you are paying attention to the world around you and you're going a little bit faster than the posted limit, I don't have a particular issue with that. I actually don't have a particular issue if you are high on drugs, you're intoxicated by alcohol, you've only slept 4 hours the night before, you're exceeding the speed limit, you don't have a seatbelt on, and you're operating a mobile phone while driving. That to me is irrelevant, because if you are not harming anyone, there's no crime caused in my view.
I guess it's public would suggest that if you are doing those things, then potentially you could harm someone.
Definitely the potential is huge, but you can also...
You could sneeze as well.
Yeah, you could be 100% legally compliant, sneeze or grab a water bottle or grab a cup of coffee, spill the hot cup of coffee and create a crash.
Yeah.
So the actual outcome is what I'm more focused on.
I think you're right. You know, when we were talking about the regulations behind the skydiving, it's interesting because if you have a look at the statistics as far as like death toll on the roads versus anything, shark attacks.
Yeah.
You know, the numbers are actually pretty low, and yet we still have more and more regulation coming out for driving.
Yes.
You know, whether it be the phones, being on the phones, or speeding, or speed cameras everywhere.
Yeah.
Which
is part of the surveillance state that people are just being conditioned to become accustomed to, and that I find is probably one of the more concerning elements, is because as all these cameras are popping up, most of society is just accepting of that, whereas what we are doing is creating a slippery slope to a totally controlled environment.
Do you reckon it's a slippery slope, or do you reckon we've already slipped?
A bit of both. Yeah.
I mean, I would say like COVID, for instance, whatever your stance is on the vax, but I would say that was a really good indicator for the government and for the powers that be of what they're capable of doing and the control levels and how far they can push.
Yeah.
And I would say compliance was outstanding. Like, you know, people, bikies, religious groups, the general population really obliged. In
many parts.
Many parts.
Yeah. There are pockets of resistance, and the pockets of resistance were funny. So I remember of hearing stories of elderly people in the Ballerine, all gathering together in the park. They'd bring their cup of tea and their chair, and they'd have rebel meetings. So whether those demographics you talked about before complied in mass or objected in mass, it was, I think you're right, it was a very interesting observation as to what people would accept.
Well, it's never happened in history, has it? You know, as far as a worldwide scale of test, you know, or a trial for compliance.
Yeah.
And when I say we've already slipped, I would think that, you know, there is a lot of regulation. Like, there's a lot of rules and systems and structure in place, whether it be through, you know, schooling or through, you know, policing or political.
Yeah, because policing, can we just touch on policing quickly? Police have got a big recruiting drive happening at the moment.
Yeah.
They lost a lot of members through COVID, through both the environment that they were forced to operate in and the vaccine policies that they had at the time. And my view is that they probably don't need that big recruiting drive if they just maintained police operating in a way that's consistent with the the Peel's principles of policing. So I don't know if you've heard of Robert Peel, but he was basically the father of policing in Britain.
Sure.
And Bobby is why they're called Bobbies, because of Robert Peel. And he's got a whole list of principles that basically, if the police abide by, the community is well protected, well served, and the policies that police in Australia and probably around the world have been forced to work to are totally inconsistent with those principles. And that's why you get a lot of police getting burnout. So you've got the administrative burden that they spend more time doing paperwork than actual real policing.
Yeah.
And I think that hits home to a lot, and it wouldn't help them stay in the job. And then you've got the actual laws that they police being inconsistent with Peel's principles of policing.
Whether they're doing policing.
Yeah.
So a friend of mine joined the police force probably a year and a half ago, lasted 12, maybe 18 months.
Yeah.
And he just all he was doing was the same task, welfare checks on families. And he said that's not really what I signed up for.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that that's the circumstance for everything, but that was his experience. And
well, it's similar in a lot of government jobs. So when I was in the Air Force, I had a lot of really wholesome, rewarding jobs. But at the end of the day, I left because I saw that what I signed up to do was not what I was actually doing.
Sure.
So while the actual experiences were phenomenal, I just moved on because of a change of direction.
Yeah. And we were speaking about it before, there's nothing in life, whether it be a win or a lose, or a loss, that you regret as far as that lesson and what it's taught you and who you are today. So, going back to the event, you were talking about what actually happened. Do you genuinely see it as an issue with or as free speech, or
absolutely,
it's more going on?
Yeah, well,
bit of both.
I don't like the treating people differently component.
Because you've got a different opinion.
Oh, yeah. But I think I like to package things differently sometimes. Sure. So there is the subject matter, but when it comes to the free speech component, I think it's vitally critical for a functioning democracy to support free speech at all costs, whether that's people having their feelings hurt or any other sort of perceived negative. If we don't allow people to say things that we don't particularly like, we start a slippery slope towards a future that could replicate 1920s Germany, 1930s world conflict, and there's even a story from about 150 years ago of, I don't know if you've heard of him, Dr. Ignaz Semmelweis, Semmelweis. And what Ignaz found was that around about 150 years ago, doctors were treating birthing mothers after having handled dead bodies. Dr. Semmelweis thought that, okay, there's a problem here. What if I washed my hands between handling a dead body and delivering a baby from a birthing mother?
Revolutionary.
He was not laughed out of the establishment, but driven into a mental institution because the powers that be did not agree with his position on washing hands. Wow. Now, you as a non-qualified medical practitioner were just like, and I think all of your viewers are like, but at the time, the establishment was against that. So he ended up getting locked in the mental institution, being bashed in his 40s and died in that institution, all for suggesting that doctors wash their hands between handling dead bodies and giving
babies.
Babies,
So where is
that free speech needs to be protected because
absolutely. Yeah. So where is the line then? Where's the line as far as, for instance?